All right, go ahead, Scott.
All right, welcome back to another Q&A session here for Infinite Agents, where our goal is to help independent insurance agents win more, work less, make more money, have a fruitful life. We are excited to have you guys here, joined by my co-host, partner, Mr. Toby Hartman, owner of MM Insurance. Been slinging insurance for almost 20 years now, Toby. Can you believe that?
And I cannot. Every day I pinch myself, man. It's a dream.
All right. Well, today we're going to be doing another Q&A format where I'm going to be asking Toby a few questions. Today's topic is 10 grenades that can go off in an agency. Some of these might resonate with you guys out there in the audience after you watch this once we record it. I'm going to get some experience from Toby, ask a few questions on each of these grenades, and hopefully some of these tips help you guys out there and hopefully avoid these grenades so you don't have to jump on any of them.
Yes. You do not want to have to throw your body over a grenade. So fire away. Let's hear it.
All right, grenade number one is using Post-it notes. So I actually have an interesting story about this. When I first met Toby and started working with him, three and a half years ago, and we were playing golf one time and I jumped in your truck. I saw Toby's notebook that had Post-it notes all over it. And as we were driving, one of them blew off into the back seat. And I remember
I was looking for some. I got some in a book here.
Exactly. And I was like, geez, you gotta get this stuff somewhere else. So grenade number one is using Post-it notes. And the question I have for you, Toby, is can you think of a real life example that happened to you where you thought you wrote a sticky note, handed it over, it blew out, did not get to the intended participant?
Yeah, so that's very easy. I'm going to use some visual aids here. This is probably something that everybody has in their office, right? Is a big manila folder. And I'm going to throw somebody under the bus that no longer works for me. I'm not going to call them by name, but this person believed in using these folders all the time in the office with customer accounts on them and stuff like that. And so we would pull a paper file, right? We'd put a Post-it note like, do this to this account, and we throw a Post-it note on the front and we put it on that person's desk. Well, when more than the bigger you get, the realize you like Post-it notes give me anxiety now. Okay, let's just be real clear about that. When you put it on someone's desk and then someone else puts it on someone's desk and someone else puts it on, all of a sudden there's 3 folders on that person's desk, all with a Post-it note of an action item. It can get buried literally and figuratively very, very easily. And that's really what happened is we would process auto changes or something simple like a policy change, adding a building, things like that would get processed too slowly. And, it's 2025. We got to process things same day. And you have to have a digital format in order to do that. I'm probably jumping ahead here, but I was looking around when you first brought it up because I don't even have a stack of Post-it notes on my desk anymore. We don't use manila folders at work. We don't use Post-it notes. So if you don't, or if you currently do, you should probably listen up to what his second question is. That's probably coming.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, so what tools do you recommend to centralize those communications?
I'm beholden to what we're using, which is on Monday.com's platform, but it's basically a digital to-do task management board where you can pass Post-it notes digitally back and forth to different people. You can assign them, and it's a task manager. I'm sure you can probably add more to it than I can, but just think about it. If you are passing an email back and forth in your office with someone who works in an office down the hall from you, you could pass that email 6 times and each one of you gets 6 new messages in your inbox. Whereas if you have a task associated, it's one task, and then you can each comment on that task within like a discussion platform on that task that stays with it through the life of the Post-it note. So eventually a Post-it note fills up. How many words can you fit on a Post-it note? I mean, not very many. So this way you can have a task, see it all the way to completion. You can pass it to a different person. You can add files to it. You can add folders to it. You can attach a customer to it. You can put a due date on it. And my favorite part is you can see who's accomplishing, who's marking done on that task the most times per month in your office from a customer service standpoint. You can see who's working the hardest or who's overwhelmed and needs some help because of task completion. So Monday.com is where it's at.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's interesting that you went through the analogy of having your manila folder and you put a post-it note on it because that's digitally, like, that was the most efficient, like, in paper process. Where Monday.com is that process, but digitally. Like that manila folder is the item, is the process change. And then inside what we call the bubble is the post-it note. And there's multiple post-it notes in there where you can mention people, tag people. Because back in the day, we tried Slack because it's a popular communication channel, but it
Yep.
just doesn't work because it doesn't follow the manila folder. Right.
Right.
You can create channels for people and different customers and stuff like that, but it doesn't follow the task. Whereas
And
Monday
there's
follows the task.
and there's no analytics either. There's no like counter that's keeping track of it in the back end that you can refer to later.
Yep. All right. So that takes us into grenade number 2, which is not completing or tracking policy change requests. And the note that I have on here is this is the one that gets you sued because no tracking equals no proof.
Mm.
So why do agencies, in your opinion, mess this up so often or miss policy changes?
I mean, post-it notes are one reason, but number two is just an inefficient system or no system that they have for processing a policy change. If a customer calls your office and has to do a policy change at 5 p.m. on a Friday or 6 p.m. on a Friday, when is that going to actually get done? Like, when is someone going to log into the carrier's website and actually make that change happen? Let's just say it's a vehicle change. Someone has to push the button. And so, do you have a system to onboard that, or are you just taking the call on your cell phone, you're writing it down, and you're hoping that it gets done later? The common denominator here is that people want things quickly, and they can usually call the carrier after hours and get it done faster than you if you don't have anybody at the helm or you don't have some digital process to onboard policy changes. So what we did is we used JotForm to basically give our customers the ability to submit a policy change, no matter what it is, all the common ones that happen time and time again: vehicle change, building change, home change, uh, adding an employee, adding a driver, all those things, commercial lines, personal lines. We build them into one JotForm, and it's a digital form that they can go on our website and fill out, or it's at the link at the bottom of all of our emails. It's like, if you need a change and it's after hours or it's during hours, click this link and we'll actually process it quicker if you do it electronically than otherwise. And it timestamps it. And so we know when somebody is submitting a change, and we know, like, did they submit this change after they got in a car accident or before, right? Like, so it keeps you in the driver's seat of not getting sued because you know when things came in, and you're not relying on an employee to like log a call and send in the change to another employee who's actually going to do it. And it's just archaic, right? So if you can train your customers, all policy changes go through this way. And if you do pick up the phone and it's a new hire, like, let's say I just hired a brand new CSR, she didn't know how to do a policy change yet, but she's on the phone. She can just go to our link on our website and answer the questions live while she has the person on the phone, if she wants to have that white glove service for that person.
Yep, I was gonna say, one of the biggest transitions for MM, probably, this was about 2 years ago when we implemented this, was the digital policy change form, but how convenient it is for the customer, how they actually like it a lot more.
Yeah.
They have a digital app on for us where they can go, like you said, off hours, but if they call in during the office, our CSR fills it out right in time, and that way it goes into her board, assigns it to do, and nothing gets lost. It doesn't matter what it is. So it's like the protocol is followed, whether it's 9 a.m. on a Tuesday or it's 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Like the process is the same, handled efficiently, and
Right.
making sure that we don't miss anything.
Yep.
And we can always go back and look at it, like you said, time stamped, and look at that information. So, all right. Grenade number 3 is a policy renewal never arrives. And if a renewal doesn't hit, nobody's covered and no one gets paid, right?
Mm.
So, how do you avoid like, I thought it renewed, it auto renewed, I thought I renewed it mistake, and incidences that happen? What sort of processes do you have in place to make
Yep.
sure that renewals are taken care of?
Yeah. So eventually you get busy enough that you got too many policies to keep track of. So you have to have a system to rely upon. And system is an acronym, right? Save yourself time, energy, and money. And so we spent some time developing a system that helps make sure that any policy that we've got is going to renew, or the person gets a touch point or multiple touch points before the renewal, both digitally, in person, phone, email, etc., that the same delivery system's happening for renewals on the front end, so that it's not, a week after their X date and they're like, hey, where's my renewal? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. And then we go to the carrier and like, oh, our system was down. And then you have somebody with a lapse in coverage, which is the 911 in insurance, that you never want to have happen. And the reality is, if you don't have a system, you're going to have that happen. It's just a matter of when, it's not if. And
Yep.
so, the way that we do it is that, and I'm a little bit removed from this at this point. So our customer management system that we built on Monday.com will take a customer and basically force them to reset at their renewal date, where it removes their it makes it a zero where their premium goes. Okay. And we know that everybody's paying more than $1. So if it's a zero, it gets flagged. And it gets flagged. The only way that it can be unflagged is if a CSR goes and grabs the policy and links it digitally to the digital file. And we're using Dropbox for that, or you can use ShareDrive or whatever. But when you grab that digital file that has the actual policy that we download, we match it, and then we plug in the premium. So if it's $60,000 in premium, we're going to put that in. It's no longer a zero, so it's not flagged anymore. And that's our checkpoint to know. And that's what our lead CSR does every Monday, is she checks, are there any zeros out there? Because that's somebody who had a renewal and we don't have the policy yet. So instead of a carrier sending you this is what has happened to me. Carriers were emailing me a month later, hey, here's your policy. And I'm like, glad you sent it to me. I didn't know where that thing was.
Oh.
And so you've got to have, I want to be on the offensive on that and be like, hey, where's our policy? You told us you'd have it to us 2 weeks ago. It's been 8 days. I want it now. And
Yeah.
we're on the front end and we're playing offense instead of, when I worked at Federated, it was, are you running your territory or is your territory running you? And when you don't have your policies and you're not being proactive, like that's when you're going to get into a problem with no policy, no coverage, no commission.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the offensive. Why don't you talk a little bit about the offensive touch points that a customer gets, that's customer facing prior to renewal, right? So
Well,
they
it's
buy something or whatever.
it can be whatever you want. Like for us, let's just pick on personal lines because it's easy. We have touch points that happen at 180 days out. That just it's a job form that comes electronically to them. It's like, hey, did you buy some with a motor and forget to tell us? Did you buy a piece of jewelry for your wife's birthday and forget to tell us? Like, it's got some basic questions. Do you have water backup? Do you want to know more about umbrella limits? And then it's got a couple demo videos in it to explain coverage if people don't know what it means. That goes out. Some people respond, some people don't, but at least it puts it front of mind. They read that question. Oh, did I buy a motor? Or like a motorcycle or a boat or something and forget to, I should probably call that in. So I don't have to call 800 people and ask them, hey, what's new? And let's chit chat and stuff like that. People don't want that anyway. People don't have time for that. People would rather watch and scroll on their phone than get a phone call from me asking them about that. Then we have similar emails, different questions at 45 days, 30 days, in addition to their annual review, right? So like we get a prompt, hey, let's do a review. It's 60 days out from this person's policy. Let's send them a review so they know what they have. They can let us know of any changes. So there's multiple touch points that are happening. And we do that just on personal lines. It's different on commercial lines. You're going to throw in loss control visits and financial reviews and things like that, mod reviews. But you can build out a system so that it prompts you on certain dates to deliver the things that you want to deliver for the customers that you want. And our system, what I love about it's tier-based. So you can deliver more touch points to different tiers of customers that you want to based on type of business, premium size, etc.
Yep. All right, the next grenade, which is one I know Toby loves, is missing customer birthdays. Toby loves birthday cards. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you use the birthday to build loyalty? Because loyalty equals retention, right?
Yep. I don't really want satisfied customers. I want loyal customers, because loyal customers buy and buy and buy and tell their friends. And satisfied people are like, hey, they did a good job. Like I know this glass that I got from Mason. That's a good glass. But I'm not going to go and tell my friends about it.
Yeah.
So going above and beyond for people is where you can differentiate yourself. And something as simple as someone's birthday may sound trivial, but it is above and beyond, and not a lot of people do it. So just ask yourself this question. On your birthday, Sky, you were born in March, right?
Yep.
See, I know that because I've sent you a card.
Yeah.
How many people sent you a birthday card in the mail when it was your birthday in March? How many?
Probably 2 or 3.
Okay, one of them is your mom.
Yep.
Okay, because she birthed you, so that's what moms do, and she's grateful for you. Number 2 is probably me, and then maybe you got one more. Okay, and that person is probably not real regular about it. They're probably not in every year, but you just know that somebody else did. That's not very many.
Yeah.
So if you can send a birthday card to someone because you have their birthday, because you have your driver's license, because you insure their cars, you should think of all the birthdays that you have, and you can leverage that to over deliver for people. And that's what I've done my whole career, and tried to focus on something as simple as a birthday card, because it feels good to check your mail and find something in it that's positive. And in this life, Scott, you can either be a fountain or a drain. And I think birthday cards are a fountain. And so I send them out. But to your point, how do you do it? Okay. So within our customer management system, you have your policies that are linked over here, right? We take people and we match them up with policies. And the people, when we enter them in, we put their birthdays in. You can't add a person without a birthday. So we force it on the front end. If somebody fills out any form with us to buy a policy, they got to give us their birthday. We put it in, we marry it, and we have it. Once we have it there, it's set it and forget it. Then all we do is we set a automation that a week out before their birthday, myself or people on our team get like a reminder or a task, send this person a birthday card. When that comes in, it's just an email or a task, and it's with their address on it and says their birthday, and send them a card. And if you want to do it or not do it, it's up to you. But the worst thing is you pick up the phone, you talk to somebody for 10 minutes about their day, about their week, about their business, and then you hang up and you go open their file to do whatever they asked you to do, and you realize it was their birthday and you didn't say anything. That's the worst. Versus the alternative is you pick up the phone, you're talking to them, they're like, I got your birthday card the other day, and it's their birthday today, but they got it ahead of their birthday. That's a total game changer for me that I realized. And when I send birthday cards, I send them with a free coffee. People have to claim it, so there's no cost on the front end if they don't want to claim it. A lot of people don't. It's surprising, but it's the thought that counts, right? People remember how you made them feel, not necessarily what you said.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So that kind of leads into grenade number 5, because you really mentioned like tracking, keeping an eye on it, requiring things. We're going to talk about missing premiums or profit goals. And this is one that you and I have talked a lot about, and even some different conversations. Like, it's always interesting to me when I got into the insurance world, how everyone talks about their book of business and not their business. It's like, here's people I do business with versus like, here's this business I'm running. And, I always think about that, what gets measured gets managed, and, think about KPIs and stuff like that. So it's like, in your opinion, let's say that you're a smaller or medium agency, what are the 3 to 5 KPIs, measurables that people should be keeping an eye on and keeping a track of to know that their business is trending in the correct direction?
Okay. So I'm a little bit more traditional on this, where I think of commission dollars only. See, in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you are. You need to know how many what your commission dollars were last year, the year prior, the year. It's like, get us a 3-year run of what your commission dollars were. And so then you can see what kind of a trajectory you're on. Okay. So if this is year 3, past 3 years look like this, right? Well, then you're trending in the right direction. It's pretty easy visual to see. But if it's not like that and it's a little bit like this or whatever, you're going to be like, okay, what's happening? And so the first place I go to is, what are my commissions? Am I tracking that? Am I looking at it? Am I looking at it monthly, quarterly, et cetera, to make sure I'm trending in the right direction? And this is especially true if you're small and medium sized, because you have a lot of accounts, and it's easy to get lost in the shuffle, be like, I'm just trying to renew business, and you don't think about it. Where if you're keeping it front of mind, and when I say front of mind, I'm looking at our numbers monthly and making sure we're going in the right direction. Or if there's a month that's off over the prior 3, I'm like, what happened in that month that we missed, or did commission hit in a different month, etc. So you got to know where you're at. And Excel is not the way to go. If you're using Excel, then you should probably give us a call and we'll help you figure out how to get away from that, because that's what I was using and it's archaic. So you need to know that. Secondly, you need to know new business. So what are you writing new? And when I say new, I'm not saying, oh, Bill's policy was 20 grand last year, now it's 25. So that's a 5 grand new, new hit. No, that's your growth on your existing book. I'm talking new policies. Bill introduced me to Steve. Steve bought his policies 50 grand. That 50, I want to know, because that's net new organic growth. And people call it a lot of different things, but you need to compare that to the growth of your existing book. So we have a system for tracking new premium, new accounts, and relate it or parlay it with the existing book of business growth. And as you look at that, that's going to help you determine your sales velocity, which is your speed at growing while managing your existing book of business. And you need to be able to do those things so you know, when is it time to hire somebody? Are we growing faster on our book of business than we are on our new sales? Are we growing slower than we should, and our sales need to pick up? And you can really adjust your results so that you can set goals to get to where you want to be, right? A lot of guys that are running small to medium agencies are just trying to make more money for themselves instead of build a business around themselves that can keep growing even if they're not involved in every detail. So that used to be me. It's like, I'm just going to sell accounts and make more money. Okay. Well, at some point you realize I can't do that anymore. I need to have people help me. And that transition point, you usually realize after you're past it. So measure velocity and use, instead of spending all that money or setting it aside for yourself, position it to reinvest in your team so that you can handle future sales velocity that's even greater.
Yeah, I would agree. Those are the major ones. The only one I would add after that is your closing ratio, especially once you have a team, just to see, okay, we have 10 new leads coming in. Steve closed 4 of them, Jim closed 7 of them. Why is he closing at a higher ratio than the other person?
Yeah.
And because that's really going to help you see where's the holes in the bucket, right? Like, why didn't they close with us? Was it a process issue? Was it a just communication issue? Was it just a bad fit? Do we not have the right carriers? Things like that. But it'll really help you investigate, okay, where are the holes in the bucket?
Yeah.
So this all leads into number 6, which is lost or missing commission checks, right? So you said like the holy grail is commission, 100% agree. We're somewhat in the newer era where people pay a lot of their commissions digitally, but sometimes you still hear checks in the mail, stuff like that. How does your team stay ahead of making sure their commission checks are received?
Well, typically we know the pots of gold that we're collecting money from, right? The insurance companies, the brokerages, the MGAs, etc., life insurance companies that are sending us checks or bank deposits. It's the same ones every month. And so when one is missing and it's on a digital format and it's just a blank box, like we were talking about $0 in premium before, if it's a blank, well, then you're like, where is that thing? And you can typically go and retrieve the statement from the carrier on their portal, but if they're paying on a paper check, like, you're gonna have to manually request that get resent. And if you've ever changed offices, like I've changed offices like, I don't know, multiple times. You have to change all these addresses for where the payments are going or go all on EFT. Either way, you need to be double checking your statement every month matches the check and that the check came and that the EFT was deposited. So we just built, also on Monday.com, a digital framework for tracking those commissions, and it has prompts. So it's like, on the 10th of the month, go and check for this statement, make sure the check is there, and change the status to check deposited or check received or EFT deposit. And if there's any zeros or missing areas, you see it right away. And you're going to know that you got to go out and find that
Yep.
from the carrier.
All right, and then talking more about KPIs, grenade number 7 is a slow proposal turnaround. So there's always a statement that says if it takes 3 days to quote, they already bought somewhere else.
Mm,
So what is a realistic turnaround time that you see for personal lines in business? And like, what does your team shoot for? How do you track it? And how do you recommend a team gets faster at it? Because everything in our society now is speed to lead.
yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, I don't like the word quote. Okay, so somebody that calls in and says I want to quote, I'm like, we don't really want to work with you because quote, call an 800 number if you want to quote. We do proposals and recommendations, and I'm not trying to church it up, but in the same sense, somebody who's getting a quote is getting multiple quotes and are going to treat you like a vendor as opposed to an advisor. So shifting to be an advisor, we could probably do a whole Q&A. That's probably what we should do next, is how to be an insurance advisor and not a salesperson. But your question was around turnaround time. Okay. If somebody can get their proposal faster online and better online than through you, that's a problem.
Mhm.
So I do think that you can call Progressive or Geico and get a proposal for auto insurance in probably an hour or two, right, of your own time. I don't know that that coverage is going to be the way that you want it to be, given a future claim that you might not know that you're having. So I think you need to talk to an advisor. But what's happening is if you're spending under 5 grand a year on personal insurance, that path is probably faster, same day service, that type of stuff. You don't have any complexities, you don't have any youthful drivers, you don't have any recent claims. You just have a car you're buying and you're 25 years old and you've never had auto insurance before, you can go there and you can get it really quick. However, in our office, I want you to have a path for a better product and a better white glove experience through us if you were in that same bucket, but also if you're in that 5 grand to 20 grand or personal lines annual spend. And I want it to be just as easy, just as seamless with very low resistance to get your proposal. And what I found recently is most people want their proposal within about a week. Okay. If you're spending 20 grand on personal lines, they're okay with a week as long as they've got some touch points in between and they feel that they've been fully heard on what their exposure is. So let's say you've got 3 homes and 6 cars and 2 boats and an umbrella. Okay. That's going to be 20,000 bucks. And it's going to take a week to get that proposal fully dialed in because we're going to have a couple iterations. But I have to sit on the phone with you for 20 minutes to get all that info, your VIN numbers, blah, blah, blah. So we created these digital onboarding forms. We text somebody a link, say, fill this out on your phone. And 9 times out of 10, people fill it out on their phone after 6 p.m. because it's on their time and they can sit at home and do it. It takes about 7 or 8 minutes. They can take a picture of VIN numbers, things like that. If they can do that in an hour or 15 minutes, they give you a lot more time to propose and sell if they're able to give you all their info faster than they are sitting on hold with Progressive. So do you get what I'm saying here? Like if you have one car and one driver, it's not very hard to tell a Progressive rep, even if they're from a foreign country on the phone, here's my info. It only takes a couple minutes. Even if they get it wrong, you can say it a couple times and they'll get it right eventually. And you're going to be not as frustrated. But if you have all those cars and all those boats and all those homes and you got complicated addresses and zip codes, it's going to take forever. You're going to have to say it 16 times and nobody wants to do that. So we gave people a path to get us the info digitally as fast as possible. That's step one. And then we can turn around that proposal with however much bandwidth our team has, but we manage the expectation of a proposal time on our form. And we say, hey, when do you want this coverage to start? What's your expected lead time? And if you manage expectations and you couple it with digital onboarding that's faster than anybody else and more comprehensive, people will give you all the time in the world to propose. But the answer is you should be able to propose within 24 hours on personal lines, especially under 10 grand. Now let's talk about business. Same thing, digital onboarding. Salespeople can use it as well as customers can use it, but you need the same digital onboarding so that a small $5,000 bot policy can get you their info just as well as a $100,000 account can get you their info to just get it off square one. And then we We've used an Accord builder that we built out for this, where it takes the same info, customer facing and internal facing, either one can fill it out, and you can turn around a business proposal if it's a simple BOP in 24 hours too. But a complicated six-figure account, it's going to take 30 to 60 days, depending on complexity of loss history and stuff like that. The point is, you got to have the digital way to onboard it to keep frustration low for your customer or prospect and save yourself time. I don't
I
know.
agree. And you kind of already talked about grenade number 8, which was leads falling through the crack, getting it on their time frame. Just give like 30 seconds about how do you treat VIP leads differently than a traditional lead?
Um,
And where do you draw the line maybe?
what do you mean by that? Like a VIP lead, like low dollar, high dollar? Because a VIP is technically somebody who's high dollar that's already on the books. So if they buy, and let's say I have a VIP customer that's paying $1 million a year in P&C and they buy a new house, second home, how do I handle that?
Yeah, or just maybe a VIP prospect, like you're filling out forms for them. Are you meeting with them? Like where are you drawing the line of like where you allocate your time versus they allocate their time?
Sure. I mean, you need to have the flexibility to do it however best fits them, because ultimately they're the ones paying, right? So it's their premium dollars, and I'm going to treat them the way that they want. And I'll just ask people point blank, hey, are you real savvy on the computer? On the phone, do you want me to get me your info this way? Or do you want your hand held a little bit? And you got to make a judgment call as a salesperson is how much you're going to help them digitally or with electronically get their information in. But I mean, if it's a VIP, shoot, and they're a nice person. I mean, I'll fill out the forms all day long. I'm happy to do that. But I got to have access to the information, and I don't want to sit on the phone with them for too long a period of time because it's just going to frustrate them. I don't want to have a meeting with them in person and spend more than 15 minutes talking about insurance detail because I'm going to lose them. I'm going to lose their interest. It's my job to get it. Like, hand me your papers and let me get the heck out.
Yeah. 100% agree. Grenade number 9, not handling referrals appropriately. So either not tracking them at all, or not asking for them could be the opposite side of it. So why don't you just give, 30 seconds about what's the process that you guys use for tracking, requesting, and thanking referrals?
Okay. So we ask on our digital onboarding form, how'd you hear about us? That's a great way to do it. And they can't hit submit unless they answer that question. And we'll get somebody's name there. Most of the time we have to, I don't want to have somebody look up somebody's email. Just like, hey, give me a shout out to Bill. He referred us. And we'll know who Bill is. So we'll go find Bill's email and then we'll send him a digital thank you card with a link to like our merch website. It's a little bit cheesy. It's like, but hey, Bill, all he did was share our name enough that this person thought of it. I can throw him a Yeti mug or a stadium chair or something like that. So we have like a page that we use a third-party vendor for that they can go in and they just put their email and their name in there because they got a shout out. Thanks for the referral. That's one
Yep.
way. Is that's what you were asking?
Yep, no, that was perfect. And then the last grenade, which can be the big one, is submitting claims that shouldn't be filed. Where do you draw the line and have that conversation with a customer of, hey, we should file this claim or we shouldn't?
Okay, so let's talk about the why first.
Yep.
If you have too many claims, you can't get insurance, okay? Or it's just cost prohibitive. And a lot of people, they know that, but they don't ever remember the most recent claim they had. And so it's our job as advisors to be like, hey, you had a claim last year and the year before that. Now you have a third claim and they were all roof claims. Well, you're not going to be able to insure your home pretty soon.
Yeah.
So that conversation can't happen if all the claims are getting turned into the carrier directly. So we are the liaison and we're a checkpoint before a claim gets submitted to the carrier. And yeah, there might be a little bit of a delay, but the delay is usually same day that it's getting reviewed. We use a digital form for claim submissions so that a customer can just go on their phone and get us all the claim info. They have photos on their phone. They can upload it right there, send it in, and we get notified, review this claim, determine if it should be turned in or not, and then phone call to that person to talk them through the pros and the cons of turning in that claim. How severe is it? And we have all the info in front of us because a lot of times you get on the phone with somebody and they're like, yeah, my daughter had a fender bender and I know she had a fender bender last year and I don't think it's too bad. and then you get a photo and the car's totaled, and so is the other person's car. It's like, well, you don't have a choice. Okay, you got to turn this in. Conversely, if they're like, she got in an accident and I got to go on vacation and we got to handle this, and they hang up, but you've got all the photos, you can be like, oh, she just nicked somebody's bumper. Like, he can pay this out of pocket because he's had 2 claims these past couple of years. So we have a checkpoint. It gets reviewed. We get notified. Don't turn it in until you've had a conversation with the customer.
Perfect. Well, those are the 10 big grenades that can go off in an agency.
We did it.
Appreciate the time, Toby.
Thank you. Hope it helped.
And yeah, we'll have
Question.
to put together a Q&A about, or an info session about how to transition to be an advisor and how not to use quote, because it's blasphemous.
Not to be a salesperson. I mean,
Yes.
I know I'm a salesperson. I know I am. It just comes out of me, but you
Yeah.
can be an advisor. Thanks, Scott.
All right. See you, everyone.
Bye.